Hello, everybody. My name is Naya, and I'm the Black Female Engineer. I provide content for new and aspiring software engineers, and today we're going to talk about why you're not getting interviews. Yes, we are talking about that. We're talking about how to best optimize your resume so you can make sure you do get that call. So let's get to it. Number one, the first reason you're not getting interviews is because there are no keywords in your resume. Now, what do I mean by keywords? In the job posting that the company said, the posting you are applying to, you have no matching keywords from what they stated as their qualifications or their responsibilities for the role, etc. None of those words they used are on your resume. And this is really important because increasingly, AI is what's being used to filter through that first round of applications. And so it's going to, along with other things, it's going to look to see what keywords are being used and if your keywords matches the keywords on that posting. And this is a very easy fix. Truly, just pull up that job posting, look under the qualifications and the responsibilities, and seriously, just copy and paste those words and those phrases. Now, let's make sure we're not lying, though. Let's make sure we're not lying. All I'm saying is make sure that if you say you are interested in front-end development in your resume and in the job posting it says must have X experience in React, now instead of saying front-end development, say React specifically, if that is what you've used. So I'm not saying to lie, I'm saying make sure the way they are phrasing things, the words they are using, if it matches with you and your experience, make sure you use those exact words and phrases. Number two, you are not getting interviews because your address is on your resume. This is something I didn't know about until long after I was done applying, but it's something I've heard from multiple people, from multiple recruiters, and pop up when I do look for resume tips and advice, and that is don't put your address or your location at all on your resume. And that's because companies, if they can avoid it, won't want to pay for relocation. Yeah, it's crazy. And so when they see an address so far off from where their company is based or where the job will be based, it can sometimes be an immediate no for them. Now, that being said, I'm not saying don't get that relocation and everything, but get the job first. Get the job first, and then when talking negotiation and salary and benefits and just the whole offer package, bring up relocation if you need that. If you aren't in that state or anywhere near there, then bring up relocation. But yes, the goal of all of this is to just make sure you get that interview first, make sure you then get that job first, because it's a lot easier to say no to a piece of paper than it is to say no to somebody you just spent weeks and sometimes months recruiting, and now you liked them, they liked you, you gave them the job, and then now, I need X amount of money for relocation. It's a lot harder to just be like, no, and then goodbye, because that's a lot of resources that they spend on you, on recruiting measures, etc. And if they can lock you down, they will try their best to do that. So take your address off your resume, and then once you get the job, bring that topic of relocation, benefits, stipends up. Number three, in your resume, you are being too team-minded. You're saying we everywhere. We or my team or the company. You aren't saying I, me, this is what I did. And on one hand, of course, you want to show that you are team-minded, you are a team player, and you work well in groups, and you have experience working in groups, but they're not hiring the group. They are hiring you. And this is, of course, a habit that can be hard to break, because depending on what culture you're in, the idea is, you don't talk about yourself. If someone compliments you, you end up boasting up the team as a whole. You don't take credit for yourself. Sometimes it can be a whole thing. And so on your resume, having to then switch up and be like me, it can be difficult. But yes, do not shy away from saying, no, I got that deal in. I brought in X amount of dollars. I put up this new technology, this new X, Y, and Z. Be that person. And it's okay to mention your team, but bring the focus back to you. So say something like, part of the XYZ team where I brought in this, where I implemented this technology and brought the team X. So you can mention it and show you have experience in a team, but then leave that and bring the focus back to you. And this also applies to interviews. Don't constantly say, oh, my team did this and my team did this. What did you do? But we'll get to that in a different video if you like this one, and so let me know if you do. Number 4, you are not getting interviews because you are not quantifying your accomplishments. Now, it's one thing to say, brought in a lot of money for my company, rather than brought in $2 million over 2 quarters during the X and X establishment or whatever. Do you see how the second one has a lot more power to it? Because it's tangible. It's one thing to be like, oh, I brought in a lot of X, Y, and Z. It's like, it's easy to brush that off. It's easy to be, just see that and say, okay. But when you see the numbers, and the number doesn't even need to be huge. It doesn't need to be 2 million. Brought in $200 per quarter. Just add some type of number. Worked on a 6-member team where I accomplished X. So make sure you, where you can quantify things. Don't beat around the bush, y'all. When it comes to resumes, when it comes to interviews, don't beat around the bush. Say exactly what you did, when you did it, how you did it. Share all of those things, because it really can make all the difference in the application and recruitment process. And then lastly, number 5. This is something that gets a bit of controversy, I will say. I sometimes do hear different things from different people, but it is, do not put your GPA on your resume. Now, this tip applies more to the younger folks. If you're just coming out of college or something like that, or you don't have much work experience out of college and you're really relying a lot on the education piece of your resume, don't put your GPA on there. Now, this is something that if you had asked me, I would not have given this advice, to be completely honest with you, but I have heard from multiple recruiters that this is something, in terms of tips to make sure you get through that door, this is something that you need to avoid. Unless your GPA is ridiculously high, to not put it, because it's really then only used to discount you. Yeah. Because again, we're thinking about that computer, and if that computer sees a certain number, they're not going to say, oh, well, they took integrated physiology and they took calculus 5, and so it's okay that their GPA is lower because they really applied themselves. A computer, an AI, is not going to see that and to draw that conclusion. A human might, but like I said, so many companies are using AI for that initial screening now. And so we want to tailor our resume primarily to that. And so take your GPA off. And then if it is brought up in an interview, again, let's say you're a student or you are a very newly graduated student, and so the company you're interviewing for might care about that. If it's brought up, then share it. But like I said, we want them to like you first. We want them to see you, talk to you, like you first, and then ask. And if it's a number lower than what they would want, they still have all of this stuff, all of these conversations with you, all of these insights into who you are as a person to outweigh that maybe negative aspect of your application. But we're trying to get there. We're trying to get to that interview. So take it off your resume unless it is ridiculously high. Don't ask me what I think a ridiculously high number is. Again, to be honest, I have my GPA on my resume constantly. And I just stopped this a few months ago because I always thought it was something that I would be discounted for not having, but recruiters say otherwise in terms of their hacks and tricks. They say otherwise. And sometimes on the application, it will ask what your GPA was. I did go through applications like that. So if it asks you what it is, I'm not saying lie, put it on there. But if it doesn't ask, leave it. Just leave it. But at the end of the day, do what's best for you. It is your professional journey that you're going through. So who am I to say to go against your gut? Don't ever go against your gut. You do you. I'm just giving you some insights and some tips. But the main thing I really want you all to take away from all of this is passing that AI test, passing that initial screening. And a lot of times this will be the reason you're not getting interviews, because you're not passing the AI portion. So if you are about to start applying to jobs, or you're currently applying to jobs, pull up your resume and ask yourself if it does pass that test. And if it doesn't, make some changes. And I know it's so hard to change your resume constantly to make sure the keywords match with each individual job and all this. I know it's so much work, and it can be so tiring and so discouraging knowing you have to do all of this just to be seen. But at the end of the day, sometimes we still have to just play that game and do these things so that we can secure that job. So there we go, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and subscribe, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.